All right, now you've heard from Bob Brookins, and this is a professional painter.
Yep.
And everybody has their own way to do things, and that's super cool and super fine. We talked about sandpaper earlier. What grit do you start with? Now, I'm a sander of airplanes. I start with 30 grit. And you go 30 grit, that's 3 rocks per inch, it seems like. But I use Body Shop 30 grit on a long block, and I'll rough sand like a nose block in, because I don't want to spend all day doing this job.
I use 80.
Whatever.
Okay.
Whatever, it's fine. You'd have to work harder than I do.
Yep.
So I grind that off, and it comes off like shredded
I'm
beef.
bigger than you are, I need to do that.
Yeah. It comes off like shredded beef. Then we're going to step down the sandpaper, and all you're trying to do as you step down is to take the scratches out from the sandpaper you used before.
$150.
So if you look at my tagline on the form, finish starts with the first piece of wood cut. Make all the joints tight, everything fit, straight, and square. So now, one thing I'd like to say is never sand with an open hand or any sandpaper. Always have a block. You cannot sand an airplane without a block. And you say, well, how do I do it with a block? It's a soft block. Whatever. Now, we're going to start with 1 quart of clear. That's the whole amount of clear you get for the airplane. And many people say, well, you can't paint a big stunt ship with 1 quart. Well, that's not true. It's 1 quart split into 2. So you end up with 2 quarts thin. You got 1 quart for the substrate. So you're going to paint the whole airframe 3 coats. You're going to put that 1 coat on. You're going to use half of that 1 quart on the bare wood.
But this is after it's sanded down.
After it's sanded smooth. 320 is as low as I go in the sanding in this particular process. Sand the airplane with 320, put on a half a pint or half a quart of 1 pint of clear, and then put your paper on. Then you're going to take that whatever's left in that. Now you're allowed as much thinner as you want. Let's say, well, it's not quite working right, so you grab a thinner can and put in some more. So now it's 60-40 instead of 50-50. Take that rest of that quart that you had mixed up and cover the whole airplane. Then you're going to go around and detail sand everything. Take your super fill, put your fillets in. I do it the old way where I tape off the fillet lines, take it in. There are other ways to do it with the syringe method. Every which way is good for you is fine. Get your fillets in, sand them out. You want the wood around the fillets hard before you start sanding. Otherwise, you'll sand a groove in it. You don't want to do that. You want a nice transition up this way. So everything has to be hard. If you're going to do those big fillets like I did on my Continental, make sure that you use Z-epoxy on the leading edge around that thin piece of plywood that you use before you put the super fill on, because you want everything hard. So you sand and mold all that in. It's exactly like bodywork. Everything has to be the same hardness, I guess would be what to say. Anyway, the nose is all fiberglass, half-ounce cloth and Z-epoxy. Everything's detail sanded. Everything has to be perfect before you start painting. So now we got this airplane. It's sanded. It's rough. It's doesn't look like much. You start. I use a product called DC 540, made by Sherwin-Williams. Spray the fillets. Get that in there real good and start feather sanding that in. Dope does not stick to superfill. You got to make sure to use the DC 540 at least on the fillets. I also do the nose and around the perimeter. Bob mentioned earlier taping off the open bays. Do not put any primer whatsoever on the open bays. All that does is add a whole lot of weight, and you can't sand it off, because all the primer that you put on this airplane weighs a ton. We want to sand it all back off. We want to use a block sanding it all back off. Sand it all perfectly flat, and it'll look like you can see through it. As John said, you can read a newspaper through it. It's translucent. You can see the grain right through the gray, so it's super light gray. Now we've got the airplane sanded, still at 320. We're not at any kind of exotic 400, 600, 1,000 grit yet. We're going to take the half pint of color that I allow for a paint job. This will yield a 6-ounce finish. Half pint of paint. You can put as much thinner in that paint as you want. If you're not comfortable spraying it 50-50, make it 60-40, 70-30, whatever. You got all the thinner in the world, but that's all the paint you get. And you can spray it on the airplane, and when you're out of paint, you're done. Don't go look for the can and go, hey, we need another quart, because every coat of paint that you put on that airplane adds 1 ounce. And you go, well, that's not right. Trust me, every coat of paint that you put on the airplane adds 1 ounce. So go ahead, get the airplane all in one color. Like the last one that I painted, the Junar XL, was orange. Painted all the orange. Don't double paint. I painted the back half of the airplane white, and the front, put the tape line in it and painted the front half of the airplane orange. So try not to paint the airplane white. Some people do,
Yep.
and that's fine if that's what you like. But I don't paint double paint. I paint white on the back and then orange. There's not 2 coats. I don't paint the whole airplane white and then paint the orange. You don't want to add any more weight than you have to. Now we have the paint on there, and we're going to put 2 coats from your other quart of paint that you had left. It's fresh, it's brand new. Remember, you can use as much thinner as you want, but you only got this much dope. So we're going to spray a coat over this whole airplane, light coat, let it set. Sand it down with 600,000 grit, whatever. It should be real flat as it is anyway. 1 more coat. So now you got 2 coats out of your 1 quart of dope over here. Do your ink lines, decals, trim colors, you know, the small doodads, whatever details you want to put on the airplane. And you should have about that much in the mason jar now. So we got that much top coat. Spray it all on. Put a coat on, wait in the morning, wait till the night. And that time waiting, that's very important. You don't think it is, but dope melts. Because if you keep spraying, like some people we know, it's just melting. It's melting down to the bottom layer. So you want to paint in the 1 coat in the morning, wait till the night, paint a coat, go to bed, wake up, paint another coat, wait till the night, paint another coat. 2 coats a day is max, and as most people know, I'm a fast builder and a fast finisher. 2 coats a day is the maximum amount of paint you can put on a day, and I'm not talking about heavy coats, I'm talking about coverage coats. The last coat that you got, you should have about this much in the bottom of that can. That's going to go on wet. Put it on wet, walk away, wait a week, come back, sand with 1,000 grit sandpaper, 2,000 grit, and I end up with 5,000 grit sandpaper. And you're using a block. I use ivory dish soap, 1 drop or 2 drops into a bowl, hot water. I tear my paper into thin strips, sand between the bays. Don't sand over the cap strip. If you sand over a cap strip, you'll be in a repair. There is a way to make a repair. I showed that on another video, how to tear the silk span and get it so it blends in, but let's not repair one. Sand up to the cap strip, stay off of it. That's about all I got. I'm sorry that I screwed up the first go around of the paint thing, but at least you get the drift. The only way you can make a light paint job is don't use any paint. There you go.
Okay, I sand cap strips.
Water-based paint. I see guys coming out now that they're going to start using water-based paints on their airplanes. First off, I don't see how you could apply silk span with water-based paint. The next, trust me, you know, they're talking about, I guess they're talking after the substrate. It has to be.
Mike Costello does that, I think.
Okay, so what do you, I look at it as a bad idea to use water-based paint. What do you think?
I've shied completely away from it because I think there's a problem with it.
Yeah.
Water-based paint doesn't bite into anything.
Right, it's just there.
Yes, it's just there. They've had trouble with their water-based clears because they wash off of cars. And they've developed them, I guess, now further along the line to where they are much better. I will say that when you paint an airplane with urethane clear, if you have to repair it for any reason, you need to get a water-based primer. Because if you don't, boy, when you start putting anything over that, butyl rake clear or thinner or anything, it just starts wrinkling. Just like the old enamel jobs when you put your lacquer over on top of them.
I did a YouTube paint repair video on my Continental. You remember my Continental XL?
Mm-hmm.
I sold it now, but it's a beautiful airplane. That was all painted with urethane. But I had to do a paint repair. You can airbrush on lightly colors and repair it
Very lightly.
very lightly. You have to, it's kind of like doing the old decal ways. You can't melt it off, so you gotta,
Yeah.
it's gotta be patient. Dust it on, dust it on, dust it on, and then buff it and blend it. It will,
Yeah.
but you better be really careful.
You gotta be very patient.
Yeah. You can't
Because
load it on there.
If one coat gets you to where you put it on a little too wet,
Yep. It'll,
all kinds of-
Everybody likes to put that automated clear coat over their dope finishes. All good and fine, until you have damage.
Yep.
Then you go peel it off, you'll
Yeah.
peel that clear coat off in a whole sheet, on a whole wing, or just a spot that'll make the plane,
Yeah.
and you can't do a repair. You gotta sand that area, then find some kind of a medium that'll buffer between that clear coat and dope to get dope again, and then it's a mess for any kind of
And imagine how
ding
heavy that
or-
repair is gonna be.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
because you don't ever get anything back down to the
Yeah.
base.
urethane, whatever you
Just
sprays
add.
on, stays on. So if you mix your paint up, and you take that quart of paint, put it on the scale, and it weighs 10 ounces, that's just 16 ounces. That's exactly what's going on the airplane, and there is no gas off. That's how much is there. So, not,
Just don't ask him how he does his on his nose.
I already know how he does
Okay.
this.
I know also, and I'm not telling anybody because I don't want somebody to come to me and say, you told me what to do.
it does work for me.
You
Yep.
gotta use at your own risk.
Right.
All it takes is one time.
Test it on
for it not to
something
work.
first.
And boy, you got a mess.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, I'll get back to that tape. When you put that tape, you can go around circles. The 1/8 inch is what I use. I go around circles, but you gotta come back and back it up with this. You
Yeah.
gotta put the masking tape on it because it's gonna keep shrinking down.
Creeping.
Yeah.
And what I do is when I go to put on, I just let it hang for a while.
Because
Because
it's
you, right, you gotta
stretchy,
get this
you
straight,
roll
right.
it.
Yeah, then when I put it going around circles, I come back and I put masking tape to hold it in
And
place.
you
Give
want
me
to be
that
careful
masking
not to
tape, John.
stretch it when you put it on.
It's still, right, it's still gonna move some, but not much.
Let's talk about tape in airplanes.
Yeah.
I take the tape like this and put it on my
Yeah.
shirt and tape it. That way we don't have much of a problem with it peeling the paint off. And you
Yeah,
gotta,
no, you won't see the hairs coming off your
No.
t-shirt and your pants.
unless you got dog hair.
I liked Wendy when he did that on wool shirts.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I thought,
You gotta be crazy to
Wendy,
do
what the
that.
hell's
but-
wrong with you?
No, you won't see the little hairs or if
I'll
there's
tell you a
little
good
hair
tape that works
caught,
great.
It won't affect the thing.
And
No.
I use some of this tape, but mostly I use try to use good 3M, which doesn't exist anymore. But the blue tape for painting
Painter tape.
inside houses,
Yeah,
3M.
man, that works nice.
it works pretty good.
Yeah.
I use that
And
for backer
Gorilla's
tape
got a good
instead of
tape,
the
yeah.
regular masking tape.
Okay, this one guy wanted to know how to get the decals off. So he brought me this airplane. So when I use the heat gun to heat this, then I use masking tape, stick on and pull it off. You can see I'm pulling it. It takes time
Yeah.
because it's stuck on it so good. This Monaco, this decal.
This is Bernie's, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I went and I removed all this. You just gotta work with it and just go and just, but that's a good way to do. You have to use a heat gun. You gotta be careful so you don't burn or warp anything.
Napper sells a glue remover that'll take
Right.
that off. It'll take it off.
I didn't know about that. I just know, yeah. Okay, but anyhow, I just fucked
There is
that's a
supposed to
little
be some
tip.
decal remover that you can buy like from Eastwood. It removes decals. Now, I've never used it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
How many of the crystal clear coats do you recommend? 2 light coats when you're putting the crystal clear? Do you recommend 2 light coats or 1 heavy coat or?
Well, he probably does his different than I do, but if I'm covering graphics, I don't want to feel the edges of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And he doesn't use much paint, so that makes it even easier for him to cover his graphic edges. Because the more paint you use on your graphics, the more clear you're going to have to use to cover that edge
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to sand it and get it down smooth. Of course, it's gonna take some weight off, but it's still building that weight that you
You
can't get
can
off.
take an airbrush,
Yeah.
and you don't use a lot of paint that way.
Yes.
An airbrush around all the edges of all your decals and
Yeah.
sand it and get them smoothed out and get them flush, and then clear coat the whole thing.
That's
And you
good.
don't use hardly any paint at all. You won't feel the decals, you won't feel, I don't use vinyl
And that's a half egg,
decals, I use decals. I buy decal paper and print them out.
because I'm in that half egg.
Trim it.
Okay, what I brought this out for, what you do, see how this got like a dull finish to it? What I do is I hold my gun back enough so when it hits, it's dull. You know, so, and that's why you get the dull. You can tell, you know, when you go and it's not shining, just hold it back, and when paint hits that, it dries instantly.
Yeah.
So it gives you that dull look.
They sell an additive
Yeah.
as well to make that.
Yeah, yeah, so you can see it's not real
Little
shiny.
flattening agency, don't use too much.
Right. Another thing with those decals, or not decals, but your trim colors or whatever, make sure you take your credit card out of your wallet. This is the only time you want to use it. And go right along the edge of that paint line and it flattens it right out. Takes the
Hard to
flashing
imagine,
off.
takes the flashing
I
off.
do mine. I take an air hose with an air gun.
Well, that'll work.
And I
Yeah,
just
that'll
start
work.
blowing along, and you'll get a piece, and maybe you'll have to go back with your finger. But yeah, the credit card, I've done that too, works great. And you want to
You'll get more of that flash if you pull the tape off before the paint's dry a little
Yes,
bit
I do
too
as
thin,
well.
and it'll sort of stretch it out.
But the only thing you
you'll
hate-
get a real bad little fuzzy edge on all your paint lines. So you wait until it dries, pull the tape over on itself, that's flat.
Yep,
So if the tape's here, you
Straight
grab this in, you push,
make it a
pull
cutting
it up
edge.
and push it down against it and pull it
Yep.
along the top of it. So it's right flat back on itself. And then that'll cut
I keep
that
remembering
paint
stuff.
edge.
You know, when
As
we
you
put
pull
this
that
on.
off, rather than, you know, sometimes you'll pull it off and you'll watch it'll pull off the tape and it'll
Yep.
stay on the airplane, won't
And you
be on
hate
the
it when it
tape.
flips
If you
back
pull
over the
it
other
over,
paint that's still wet enough.
yeah, and it'll stick itself back, and then there's a little bump there. But if you pull it back on itself, it'll sort of cut it, shear that edge. But it's gotta be
Cleaner,
dry.
clean it.
And your corners where you tape, your corners are the thickest paint right at the edge of the tape line. So that's gonna take the longest to dry, is right there on that tape line. The rest of it will be dry, you can't leave fingerprints in it, but underneath, right at that tape line, you'll still.
At your
you will stick
corners,
your
you want to be
fingernail
sure to
in it.
take a real sharp X-Acto. No. You don't want to use X-Actos trying to cut the paint cut off. You have to be very careful.
What do you got with the heat gun there, John?
Okay, what I do is, once I got this on, the masking tape stuff, I come back and heat gun, I go right over this. It releases the glue, you know? So after that's done, then I go and I get this stuff right here. This is really great for cleaning canopies. It's Tester's brush cleaner. I come and I just wipe all the extra glue around it, you know? And this stuff is really good. This is good for cleaning canopies.
So any residue that's left on there from the tape,
Right,
you're
clean-
taking
clean,
off
right.
with that. Which,
If you have anything, canopies that have any marks on it, this will take it right off without hurting anything. So that's, it's like $3, but that thing lasts a long time.
Tester's enamel thinner, brush cleaner.
Yeah.
That's why.
Brush
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Enamel brush cleaner.
Be
Yeah.
careful with 91 proof alcohol, because it'll take your paint right out.
Yeah, be careful. Yeah, Tester's enamel
Breathing on it or?
thinner and,
Take it right off.
Sparky was talking about using a credit card. I found something that works just as well, and they're usually free. The door keys to motels.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same as a credit card.
This, the little sample things you get in the mail, save all those
Oh, yeah, I
things,
do.
punch a hole in the number on it or whatever you need to do to devoid it, you know, or credit card office or whatever, and
Take it, run a magnet over to it.
yeah, and then, sit them in a box and save them up. I look for them everywhere I go. I got a bunch of little key fobs that were hard credit card plastics that were really ideal in size because they're about 1.5 or 2 inches long, about 1 inch wide. And I use those to spread epoxy with, and they clean off real easy, or card an edge, you know. And
Yeah.
And you can when the edges start getting rounded over, just take some fine sandpaper on the block and sand that edge flat again, and you'll get a sharp edge again. You just use it right on down. Or you could even cut it with a razor blade and get it sharp again.
Yeah, another thing I do when I take off, once I mask everything off, I use a heat gun.
Yeah.
I heat it and just pull it off. You know, because even though you think you can get away with it, it's always just one place that pulls your paint off.
You always get in a hurry about that
Yeah,
time.
that's
You want
right,
to see
right.
that finished
Yeah.
product, so you're in a hurry.
Yeah, I
Let's get
know.
this paper
Yeah.
and tape off this
Yeah.
thing. Let's see what this
Yeah,
looks
so
like.
always use a heat gun like that. You can go
You
your
can
hand
pull
in
yourself
there,
away
it
from
pulls
your
everything off
airplane
perfect.
and go upstairs and let that damn thing set after you've done your graphics and stuff.
Yeah.
Let it set a day, or even 2 days.
Yeah, walk away,
It's like you
start a
said,
different project,
Your
or do
corners are
whatever.
the heaviest paint.
Yeah,
And they always look the worst if you don't wait long enough.
absolutely. And stars, man,
Yeah.
I've had the worst headaches putting stars on things, the little tips of
Yeah.
every star
How do you
point.
get them to hold still?
I don't know, they jump off the airplane on their own.
If you use an airbrush for the trim, it's better,
Yeah, absolutely.
because you're using half the paint. I
Yeah.
mean, probably less, or, you know, a tenth of the paint. You can paint a whole airplane with if you can stand around that long. The whole airplane with one little bottle, 2 ounces, the
Yeah.
whole airplane. But it takes a while.
You know, I've got all kinds of airbrushes and I've never really given it much thought to do that around your graphics and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Smartest thing. Yeah.
Like fillets areas, I never paint directly into fillet.
No.
I always just,
Yeah.
always paint the
Overspray.
bottom. When you
Yeah. Yeah.
paint the
Yeah.
wing, and when you
Yeah.
paint the fuselage, it's gonna get tons of paint, too
Yeah.
much paint in the fillet areas.
Yeah.
Don't
And
try to
one other
spray
thing.
the fillets ever.
One thing,
Yeah.
you've said that your fillets, super fill,
Yeah.
you have to primer those to get it dope to stick.
Should, yeah.
Does everybody have to do that?
I put it on, I haven't used that, I've used micro balloons and
Okay.
finishing resin, not regular epoxy, finishing resin.
Okay, I use
And
super
micro
fill.
balloons,
And,
Yeah.
of course, I sand mine with like 150.
yeah.
And you have, like he says, you have to be careful, because if the wood isn't hard, you're gonna gouge it. And, I use clear dough.
The
You're
150.
putting a mechanical tooth to it by using
Right.
150
Plus the
grit
fat.
paper.
All
You
the-
said something about using 400 grit or something.
I've heard
on
people
fillet,
use 400.
And it pulling
I
up.
know.
Well, it's
On
too-
fillets,
it's
you
too
need to use
thick.
something a little coarse on fillets.
Yeah.
Yeah, 150
Like you
is
said,
as
it
fine
won't
as you need to
primer
go.
if you don't prime them.
Well, probably because I do it different. I don't sand fillets. I do try not to sand them. I'm using alcohol on my finger and
That's why. Yep.
you know, I
Because
try-
when you do that, it dries with a film on it.
Yeah.
And when I sand them, it takes that film off of
Okay,
it.
well, I'll
There's a
work
wax
with
like
320.
substance that
Yeah.
comes to the surface on all epoxies,
Yep.
you know, and
Fill
superfills
it
and
with-
epoxy-based products.
No bubbles.
Finishing resins have less wax in them, they tend to not come up as much, but just standard hobby shop epoxies, whether it be 5 minute, 20 minute, 30 minute, they get that wax that comes to the surface, and that's what causes your finish to
Yep.
not to pop off your fillet.